But what about in terms of running backs? I love it. Is this kind of like the opposite of quarterbacks in terms of there weren't really many great quarterbacks we like the easy schedule for, but looking at your list, there are definitely a few juicy names at the running back position here towards the top. Who are some guys with really easy schedules, Marcus?
Yeah, well, Jonathan Taylor jumps out as that top guy, and it's weird. We've ended up talking about the Colts a lot in this podcast today.
Yeah.
I mean, purely by chance, but so be it. I talked about the division the Ravens are in, the division the Seahawks are in, and how tough it is. On the flip side, you look at what the Colts have in the AFC South. I mean, the Titans were not very good defensively last year. The Jaguars still have some things to figure out offensively last year. The Texans are just a mess in every sense of the word right now. So that's 6 games right there off the bat against very favorable opponents. So that's a reason. I think that might be one more reason to sort of keep hope alive with Jonathan Taylor, even as everything around him right now is sort of in turmoil. But I think there's reason to believe in him. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who, look, they have just been a great duo in Cleveland for the last year or two. Again, they play in a tough division, but there are teams on their schedule that really struggled against running backs that they get to take advantage of. That right now has sort of become the gold standard for running back rotations. We want every team with 2 or more running backs to figure out how to make it work the way the Browns have with Chubb and Hunt. I mean, it's wishful thinking, but you take those two, you take 2 guys who are going to be in an offense that really likes its running backs with a schedule that's very favorable. I think both those guys are set up for really big years. And then the third one for me is David Montgomery. And last year, a lot of people, myself included, really advocated midway through the season trying to trade for David Montgomery because the schedule really opened up for him at the end of the year. And there are a lot of people who, even if they didn't win their fantasy championships, they got pretty far in the postseason, thanks in part to David Montgomery. So we went to this season, we're like, well, is the schedule going to be as favorable? And at least on paper, it sort of is. So if he can sort of rekindle that magic from last year, if he can really take advantage of that schedule, he's a guy that, we're not drafting him to be an elite type running back, but he does have RB1 upside because of the schedule and because of potentially the workload. And if the passing game can get better, whether it's Andy Dalton or Justin Fields, if they can stretch the field, if they can get the defenses to back off a little bit more, that's only going to help David Montgomery be better as a runner.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love all those names, and Taylor and Montgomery again. Both last year they had that wonderful stretch of schedules. It's looking like that lines up nicely again too at the most important time. So even with all these injuries around him, maybe Taylor becomes a buy low somehow mid-season, because it's looking like the Colts have a very, very easy schedule, not just all year, but in the fantasy crunch time as well. So all those guys should feast. And Montgomery too, especially if Cohen, a lot of rumors that his knee still isn't right and he's not looking fully back to health yet. If he comes along slow, a lot of it was a product of a schedule. A lot of it was the product of volume. But like, as you said, both of those things might still be there for this season. So yeah, I love all those calls, and you don't really need me to tell you how good Nick Chubb is. Give him an easy schedule. Like, the guy's the best pure runner in the NFL. Maybe only Derrick Henry could beat him, in my opinion. At least I just love watching Chubb play and the way he approaches the game. So give him an easy schedule, especially if that means they're getting ahead and they can just continue to pound teams. Like, love all of that. Absolutely love it. What about in terms of hardest schedules? In addition to this, we had some big names in the easy ones. We also have some big names down here in the hardest schedules. So who has a difficult one, and are you worried about it?
The first one is the Bucs running backs, right? Whether it's, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, they go out and they get Gio Bernard. I am a little bit worried in the sense that you've got a difficult schedule and you've got 3 guys that can all command a pretty good sized workload. Now, the recent reports are that Ronald Jones looks like the RB1, which makes me happy. Again, Trojans, but also because he played really well last year, right? He really picked up a lot. He was, the scrimmage leader for the team last year. And I mean, just from where he was his rookie season, which was pretty much a loss, to see him really progress and evolve was really exciting to see. So I hope that means he is going to get a bigger workload. They're going to give him more responsibility in that offense. But, I don't think you can completely ignore Fournette and Bernard back there. And so to take a tough schedule and to try to split the opportunities 3 ways, it worries me a little bit. I will be honest that it does concern me a little bit. Next to Saquon Barkley. I guess what worries me more about Saquon is more about Saquon's recovery. The fact that the Giants, aren't completely certain when he's going to be back to full strength. Even Saquon himself has not been all that excited. He didn't sound that confident that he's going to be back anytime soon, which is strange because usually the player is way out ahead of the team when it comes to rehab. It's the player that is like, I'm ready to go. Let's get on the field. And it's usually the team or the doctors that have to tell him like, hey, slow down, Turbo. The fact that Saquon has been just sort of hesitant, that gives me worry. The schedule is maybe a little bit of added something, but I'm more just keeping an eye sort of on Saquon's rehab before I even dive into what the schedule is for him. The last one is Christian McCaffrey. Not worried about it at all, just because, as long as he's back and he's healthy, I mean, you're talking about a guy who probably going to be on the field for 95% of the snaps, is going to get an insane number of touches. That offense is still going to primarily run through McCaffrey. He's still going to get his 100 targets or what have you. So I'm more worried about him just being healthy than whoever's lining up against him. I feel like he's going to get enough volume that it's just not going to make a difference.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on McCaffrey. No reason to worry. He does so much damage as a receiver. Like if they're clogging up the middle, the Bucks are so good and they get them multiple times. But yeah, if they, I 100% agree with you there. And Barkley as well. The injury is a big concern. I personally am avoiding the Bucks backfield. If Jones does separate, though, I'm 100% in agreement. I loved how he looked. I just hate that they've been so hesitant to let him just. As soon as he has a blow-up week, they seem to take him out and put in Fournette the next week because he might have one bad play to start a game. It seems like Arians looking for any excuse to not fully unleash this guy. If they ever do, I loved how he looked last year. He certainly, I'm with you, past that eyeball test. But until I know that, a three-headed nightmare in the toughest schedule, I'm probably avoiding that backfield. But I'm similar to you there. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments. Check out some more videos. And join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.